that how many whales were killed every year from the whaling industry. They recorded all that information, and it's well known that some of that information was falsified. But there's been a lot of efforts to revisit the data and make sure that it's as accurate as possible. So after doing that, what statisticians do is that they have a population model that has been developed for animal populations that we know work pretty well. So you plug in those numbers, and that's how you're able to trace the population. Those are estimates. So they usually give you an estimate along with a confidence interval to say, okay, well, in 1820 there were 50 whales plus or minus such. And that's how they were able to separate. And what you see is, so each of those pies is the number of, the proportion of the different haplotypes of the whales. So what you see generally is sort of a gradient, a transition between going to mostly green here, to kind of like a mix of blue and green and yellow and maroon, to mostly yellow and maroon, and then to mostly blue and green here. This is from that study, Splash, in 2000, during the mid-2000s, and these are the proportions of haplotypes for California, Oregon, and for Southern British Columbia and Washington. So far, collected samples in California, and we collected 14. We collected samples in Oregon, and we collected samples in Washington. So this is pretty exciting for us, because what we're seeing is that where the Splash study grouped California and Oregon into one single population, what we're seeing is that, yes, California itself is falling out in being different, but Oregon does not group with California anymore. It's actually, Oregon is more similar to British Columbia and Washington. So that the Washington animals, what you see is that it's mostly gray bars. Those are 24 different bars. It's mostly gray bars and a few orange ones. So that's a lot of animals that appear to be coming from Hawaii. And this is not sure. It's not absolute. It's a probabilistic assignment. Then in Oregon, we're seeing mostly animals from Mexico and Central America, which are the yellow and orange. And then in California, definitely mostly Central American. So again, all these lines of evidence are supporting a little bit more refined understanding of what these populations of the West Coast are. NOAA is in the process of helping address the conservation status of whales of the West Coast of the US. So this is my second reason to brag about, is that what you see here is the Federal Register announcement that came out on October 9th, that there's going to be a designation for critical habitat of the West Coast. This was the result of a whole year of work, and we were invited to be part of the group of experts informing NOAA with our data, the tracking data, all the tagging data, to identify, and I apologize that you can't really see very well, these are all boxes. So what NOAA did is this starts at number 1, number 2, there's 19 boxes in US waters, there's 19 here. And there's going to be people from NOAA, from DC headquarters. That's a good way, if you don't want to read like 80 pages of this document, they will present the main conclusions and why they're justifying this. Because this will eventually become federal regulation. It's open for public comment until December. So coming to these hearings and listening and providing your feedback is very important. Again, up in the Strait of Juan de Fuca, there's also cruise ships coming through, and yeah, just human activities. Obviously, the economy is doing really well, and there's more human uses of the marine environment that also brings more conflict with wildlife. This was NOAA. Last year, they were doing some work out of Neah Bay as well. They were on the water, and they were flying drones, mostly to study gray whales, but they saw humpbacks as well. And if you squint, this whale actually has one of our tags, which is the reason why Jeff Harris from NOAA again say that a lot of this work is possible through a lot of contributors and assistance from people at OSU. Minda's here. She has been great support for us in our program, and yeah, a lot of people have made this possible. Also, when we work up in Washington State, we have to get permission from the Makah tribe to let us work in their waters. Those are their waters, so we have to clear that. So, subpopulations, because when you look at a whole hemisphere population, maybe the population is doing reasonably well. We generally feel that, except for right whales and a few other whales, as a species, most species are generally recovering pretty well. But when you look at individual populations, why are some populations not recovering so well and some are doing really well? So the general consensus in the science community is that those populations that are not recovering well is because they are interacting with human activities in strong levels.